on my sleeve, let the runway start. You know the miserable do love company. What do you want from me and my scars? Everybody lack confidence. Everybody lack confidence. How many times potential was anonymous? How many times the city making me promises? So I promise this. I love myself. And a bomb in the street, and a gun in the hood, and a mob of police, and a rock on the corner, and a line full of fiend, and a bottle full of lean. Dreams are reality's piece. Blow steam in the face of the beast. The sky can fall down, the wind can cry now. The strong in me, I still smile. I love myself. The world is a animal, big guns and kick you down. I love myself. But they can do what they want whenever they want. I don't mind. I love myself. You said I gotta get up like the one on suicide. I love myself. One day at a time, sun go shine. My baby, oh my baby, down, down, belly deep, down, down, belly deep. I love myself, I love myself, heart undone, my heart undone. I love myself. The world is a ghetto, big guns and kick you down. I love myself, but they can do what they want whenever they want. I don't mind. I love myself. You said I gotta get up like it's more than suicide. I love myself. One day at a time. Sun goes shine.
Yo, what's happening? This is DJ Quick, and you're listening to my homegirl, Dominique DePrima. You know where it's at. It's front page, right here on KJLH Radio.
Radio Free 102.3 KJLH. Good morning. I'm Dominique DePrima, and as I'm walking up to this microphone, I'm asking for blessings from God Almighty, the ancestors, the righteous elders, and Southern California's early morning communications drum is wide open. Welcome, family. Welcome worldwide, wherever you are. If you're listening online at kjlhradio.com, starting every day with gratitude, no matter how ratchet things may seem, giving thanks to the Most High, giving thanks to Stevie Wonder, who's given us this space every day, the management and staff of KJLH, our front page team, and you. Good morning. I want to remind you that if you have a conscious cut of the day that you would like to share with us, all you have to do is hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It is Radio Free KJLH. You can also find me at DePrima Radio, DIPRIMA Radio, or Front Page Show. Right about now, time for our calendar. If you have an item you'd like to get on the calendar, please place it in social media or place it in the mail. Good old-fashioned snail mail. That's 161 North La Brea, City of Inglewood, 90402. You know what's coming up? The annual Goodwill Awards. I'm hosting it. It's Saturday, April 21st. It's at the Westin Los Angeles Airport, 5400 West Century. You can just show up, or you can buy tickets in advance at africanfocus.org. You can call 310-676-7300. And this is a great time. It's a great chance to put on your fancy African garb and hang out, listen to music, see some African dance, and watch the emotional ceremony as Africans are adopted by African Americans, as we do what we can to heal the gap that was created by the international slave trade. Weed Crime, Know Your Rights, that's the name of it. It's a legal clinic opening April 14th, and it's going on thanks to the Mesero team. You can get more information on that free seminar at info@meserofreelegalclinic.com, info@meserofreelegalclinic, or just show up Saturday, 11:30 to 12:30, 8722 Crenshaw Boulevard in the city of Los Angeles. Okay, you know what? The KJLH Women's Health Expo is on. It's at the Long Beach Convention and Entertainment Center. It's coming up the 28th, just at the end of the month. 300 East Ocean Boulevard, Long Beach, California, 90802. I will be there. The Wellness Village is in effect, but we need you to go ahead and register at kjlhradio.com. Let us know you'll be there and get in on the fun. Saturday, the 24th of March, is the King Tut Treasures that exhibit opened up, but it's going on through January 6th. Here's the thing, though. These treasures of our Black African king will be going to Egypt permanently, so they won't be coming back. You got to see it now. It's the 100-year anniversary of the discovery of this tomb, and it's at the California Science Center right in the community. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to see these treasures of antiquity for yourself, because once they go back to Egypt, they won't be traveling anymore, so you'll have to go there if you want to see them. Dixon Foundation annual walkathon and health fair is on also Saturday at St. Andrews Recreational Park, 8701 South Andrews Place, LA 90047. Come and walk for a wonderful cause. This is to provide prosthetic limbs to children and veterans in need and scholarships. You can just show up at St. Andrews Park. They're there from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. They're going to have health vendors and all kinds of information, free drawings, free hot dogs and drinks. For more information, go to jrdixonfoundation.com. The weekly walk-in Wednesday reclassification clinic is on. That's also in Long Beach, 10 to 4 every Wednesday. You're going to have to bring your rap sheet and stuff. They will help you get whatever's on your record off, and that is brought to you by A New Way of Life. Coming up this Wednesday. And every Wednesday, Coach E's Youth Speed and Fitness Camp and his adult workout are on a vacation for the next 2 weeks. So go do some yoga. Go walk on the beach. Figure it out. Just keep it moving. Like Bobby Jean Anderson said to us yesterday, just keep it moving. 4:46 in the morning. And we have, believe it or not, a busy day around here. We are going to be talking with a very special guest, actually a couple of very special guests, and we'll go from reinventing yourself right back to what's going on with our police, the whole Black Lives Matter conversation. All that is coming up. First, let's check this 24-hour news cycle.
And now, headlines for higher minds. A front page news brief with Dominique DePrima.
Good morning, family. It's the 11th of April, 2018. Happy birthday to all the Aries in our front page family. President Donald Trump is considering firing Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Multiple people familiar with those discussions are telling that to CNN. It's a move that's gained urgency following the raid of the office of the president's personal lawyer. Such an action could potentially further Trump's goal of trying to put greater limits on special counsel Robert Mueller. This is one of several options, including going so far as to fire Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Trump is weighing all that in the aftermath of the FBI's decision Monday to raid the office of Michael Cohen, the president's personal lawyer and longtime confidant. Officials say if Trump acts, Rosenstein is his most likely target, but it's unclear whether even such a dramatic firing would be enough to satisfy the president. That's from CNN. Facebook's most popular Black Lives Matter page turns out to have been a scam run by a white Australian. It's had nearly 700,000 followers, making it the largest Facebook page affiliated with the movement. That's what people thought. Turns out it was a fake, and it was tied to an Australian guy who had registered dozens of other domain names related to Black civil rights causes. According to a CNN investigation. It remained in operation for more than a year despite multiple efforts to warn Facebook the page might be fraudulent. The alleged Black Lives Matter Facebook page also brought in at least $100,000 in donations through third-party online fundraisers like PayPal and Patreon. That the network's investigation found some of the money was deposited into Australian bank accounts, and that at least one online fundraising account was linked to an Ian McKay, an official with the National Union of Workers. That's an Australian trade union. McKay stepped down on yesterday. Authorities are searching for a hit-and-run driver who left a bicyclist dead at an intersection in South LA. The crash happened around 12:47 in the 1300 block of West Manchester. The bicyclist was found in the area, taken to a local hospital where he or she was pronounced dead. The suspect was driving a white Porsche Cayenne SUV. Authorities said anyone with information urged to call the LAPD South Traffic Division at 323-431-2500. We're looking at another warm day today, highs in the 80s. Right now, 59 degrees in downtown Los Angeles. I'm Dominique DePrima, and this is Radio Free 102.3 KJLH and kjlhradio.com. Good morning. Well, you know her as Aunt Viv from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She's also appeared on many other television shows, including Frank's Place, where she starred alongside her husband, Tim Reed. She has been on Hill Street Blues and a number of other shows. And she was also one of the first women ever, African-American women, to appear on the cover of Glamour. What you might not know, she's also a designer and a photographer. Daphne Maxwell Reed is with us this morning. Good morning. Welcome to the front page.
Oh, thank you so much. It's crack of dawn for you guys.
It's the crack of dawn for us now. You have relocated to Virginia, so it's not so bad for you.
Not so bad. We even have the sun up.
I envy you, but we're thrilled to have you on at this time of morning. Of course, you're beloved as an actress, and you continue to work as an actress, even from Virginia, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. Whenever they call, I'm available.
I love that. I mean, but one of the things that we kind of have an ongoing conversation on this show about is reinventing yourself in the job market, and also what we call side hustles, right? Having a job and then a job within a job and then another job sitting next to your job. And you are one of those Jamaicans who happens to have a lot of jobs, all in the creative kind of arena, right?
Well, yeah. God gave me a lot of gifts when I was born. And being an actress, you have to wait to get chosen so many times that you better have something to occupy your time when you're not being chosen by somebody who's doing something. So I've always had things that I love doing, and I continue to develop whatever creative gifts God has deigned to give me. And at this point in my life, I have the freedom now to develop whatever I want in whatever direction. So I've been having some wonderful journeys.
You have a sitcom. You had a few of those. That's not what I want to say. You have a website, DaphneMaxwellReed.com. By the way, it's DAPHNE, Maxwell Reed, REID. We'll put it up at kjlhradio.com. And you've used that as a hub for your creative endeavors.
Right. It's a website that I personally developed myself and maintain. So I'm in the process of learning all sorts of things and enjoying the journey of learning. And when I find something else that I need to do, I investigate how to do it and try to do my best at doing whatever it is that needs to get it done.
Well, you said something that really makes sense, which is as an actor, even as a broadcaster, anyone in showbiz, a lot of times you are waiting to get chosen. Someone has to put you on, unless you're one of those pioneers like Issa Rae, who just, create your own show on YouTube, and then you get picked up from there.
My husband, who creates his own shows and writes them and produces them and directs them, which is a wonderful opportunity when he gets it.
And he was way ahead of his time in doing that. I mean, before we had YouTube, right? So,
Oh, wait, this is real television.
but the thing is, I think a lot of times it's easy to get into a trap, especially here in LA, where you are waiting around to be chosen, hoping your agent will call, going to parties, hoping to make a good contact and begging people to hook you up. And I think we forget that we're meant to be artists and we're meant to be developing our creative talents, right?
Right, and living your life is what you bring to your acting. And if you're not out there living your life, you kind of minimizing the things that you could call on in your acting.
Ah, that's a great point, right? It's all the stuff that we do that we mine when we are doing our creative work, whatever that might be on the mic, acting.
Right.
So you are a hit at Fashion Week, and that must feel like something special, going from being one of the first African American women to grace the cover of Glamour to actually being a designer at Fashion Week.
I was very blessed and got the opportunity to join a group that was displaying their wares at Fashion Week, and I really had a blast doing it. It's very intense, and it was a short show, but it was good for me, and I got clients out of it, so I'm not complaining.
So, what is it that you were showing at Fashion Week?
I make coats out of Chinese silk brocade, and I've been wearing them for years. And people stop me on the street and say, "Where'd you get that?" So I finally decided, I guess I'll let them have some, and started doing custom work for clients. And I wear them on a television show I have here in Richmond on PBS. I host a show called Virginia Current, and I wear one for each show.
Oh, nice.
And I get a lot of it kind of, I guess that's my advertising that I do for it, which is real convenient for me. But when I go to shows and people ask about it, I whip out a card and say, "You too can have one."
I love that. So you become your own, model, your own
That's
cover
right.
girl
Yeah,
as you,
yeah.
and then you also are a fine arts photographer.
Yes, I started that journey when I turned 60, which was quite some time ago,
Wow.
and and developed that from photos that you take when you travel. But I realized that I had focused on doors, and through the journey of developing and showing these doors and deciding how to do a gallery show and begging somebody to let me hang it in a gallery, a journey began that blossomed into a really wonderful thing where people were buying my prints right off the walls. And when the economy changed in 2008, I decided, well, they can't afford this in this economy, so let me develop something else, and did note cards instead. And through the note cards, I would tell stories of where I had been, what country I'd been in, why I was there. And after a while, telling these stories became so repetitive. I said, why don't I write this down? And I developed how to create a book and how to publish and how to get that into stores. And that was another learning journey of mine. And I wrote 4 books. They're still being sold. And sometimes a few of my pictures get selected to be licensed, which was really a fun thing
Oh,
to
that's
do.
fantastic.
And if you go to overstock.com and look at Daphne Maxwell Reid, you'll find some pictures up there that they have licensed for over-the-couch pictures.
Oh, I love that. That's an interesting way, to show your work. I mean, and also to sell your work. A lot of artists languish, and there you are getting creative and selling them to different companies like Overstock.com. We can see them on your website as well under a section called Fresh Prints, Printz. I love it.
Yes.
So you don't run from the I guess, fame of being Aunt Viv.
Oh, no, 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 no. It's been a wonderful moniker for me. I have no problem saying, yes, you can call me Aunt Viv. That's fine. Call me by any name. Just continue to call me.
And people must. I can imagine you must walk down the street and you probably get hugs and, and people rapping the open to the song and Aunt Viv, Aunt Viv. I mean, because that character is such a part of our
So,
mindset.
yes, Will was a wonderful, wonderful lead to an incredible journey, another journey of mine. And that's why I only shoot doors in my photography because they are a metaphor for life to me. But Will was a wonderful person, and he and Quincy developed a wonderful, wonderful show that is timeless. It's timeless because of the relationships of the people on that show. And those relationships got to be very, very personal and still remain that way. Wonderful people that you get to work with, that you get to share your life with after the show is over. So I'm happy to be Aunt Viv.
Well, we're happy to have you, but I love, the fact that you've got all of these creative endeavors going. And at 60, you decided to pick up a camera and take on a new artistic pursuit.
Yeah, there's no end to the journeys that one should have in their life. The R word of retirement has nothing to do with me. So I get to turn 70 this year and deciding where I'm going next. And I think following my cookbook will be the next journey that I take.
A cookbook. Wow.
Yeah,
You consider yourself a Renaissance woman, or is this just how, in your perception, what an artist does?
it's what I happen to do. I don't give myself a moniker. If you want to call me a Renaissance woman, I accept.
I call you a Renaissance woman, Daphne Maxwell Reid.
I'm just living my life with joy and passion, and that's what I do. And when I get tired of doing one thing, I go on to the next.
Good
And
idea.
there should be no one who stops and just stops. It's how I think of death is stopping. I can't sit down and just do nothing. I just have so many things I want to do, and I just go about doing them.
It's Radio Free 102.3 KJLH, Compton, Los Angeles, Long Beach, and Inglewood. Daphne Maxwell Reid, you do have just seems like a joy of life. And of course, I'm just meeting you. But you do seem to be really happy, positive, and full of, love of life. Do you do anything to keep yourself in that vibration, or is that just who you are? Like, do you meditate and, take sound baths, or you just woke up like that?
I woke up like that today. I don't always. Don't let me fool you. Yes, I take nice long baths that I enjoy. I take walks. I work out sometimes. I spend time with friends. I have a wonderful, loving husband who is the most creative person that I know, who just continually comes up with new ideas. And that's the kind of relationship that I love being in. One that sparks my imagination and allows me to instigate their imagination.
How long have you guys been married?
36 years.
Congratulations.
And what is 188, huh?
Well, in Hollywood years, that's at least that.
Yeah.
And any tips for people that want to stay married and stay happy?
Fight through it.
Mm.
You're two individual people. You will always be two individual people. Bring something to a relationship, share something, and be willing to allow someone else to share. And you got to grow. You don't always grow in the same direction, but work it out. Base it on something like respect and love for someone, and you can go as long as you like. It's when you quit and say, I can't do this anymore, that things stop.
Well, it's a pleasure to talk with you, and I'm certainly inspired. I won't be stopping anytime soon.
Don't.
Family, go to DaphneMaxwellReed.com, and you can find out about the coats, the prints, and Daphne Maxwell Reed, the cookbook, whatever else is coming along. I have a feeling there's quite a few things to come. Pleasure to talk with you.
It's wonderful. You have a wonderful day today.
All right, and you as well. It's the front page. We've got more straight ahead. Our friend Glenn Ellis is on the phone. Radio Free, 102.3 KJLH.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground is where I spend most of my days. Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool and all shooting some b-ball outside of the school when a couple of guys who were up. Find your greatness. The front page. Radio Free, 102.3 KJLH.
Crimes are wasting, niggas doing so much hate, and free your heart and show your greatness. I, like you, had to come from up under the basement, just like you had Satan trying my patience.
Announcing a giant used car sale at Worthington Ford with over 600 vehicles on sale and everyone is under warranty. Plus, get a 10-day trial exchange, including with your purchase. Pick a car, pick a truck, drive it 10 days and make sure you like it. Choose from the largest selection in town. Find a car you love and drive it home with just $95 down. That's right, pick any car on the lot, new or used, and $95 down is all it takes. Worthington Ford works with hundreds of lenders, including their own finance company, to get you financed. They own the bank, so they can finance anyone they want to. With over 600 vehicles on sale and everyone is under warranty. Plus, get a 10-day trial exchange, including with your purchase. Pick a car, pick a truck, drive it 10 days, and make sure you like it. This is a giant used car sale going on now at Worthington Ford in Long Beach. Huge selection, huge savings, right off the 405 freeway, Bellflower Boulevard in Long Beach. And they're open until midnight. 10-day trial exchange on your credit. See those details.
Hello, this is Dr. Rosa Milligan. Get ready for Black Writers on Tour and Black Business Expo under one roof, Saturday, April 21st, 9 to 6. Learn how to write and publish your book, how to write a best-selling novel, and much more. For author and business exhibit space, call 323-750-3592.
General admission and parking is free. Children's writing competition. Self-made millionaire Mr. Ivy Stokes is the keynote speaker. It's free. Free seminars for the general public. Get tickets for writer seminars at Classic One Books, 1425 West Manchester Avenue in Los Angeles. Credit cards are accepted. 323-750-3592.
Literacy is everybody's business. Black Writers on Tour, Saturday, April 21st, from 9 to 6 p.m. Carson Community Center, 801 East Carson Street in Carson. Bring the whole family. 323-750-3592. BlackWritersOnTour.com. See you there.
Warning. If you're drowning in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $5,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Associates now. 1-800-900-9053. We'll even show you how much money you could save. If you can't afford to pay off all your debt, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to. Call Credit Associates now for free information on how to get debt-free faster than you ever thought possible, without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We depend on your success and offer a guarantee, so there's no risk. For free information, call now. 1-800-900-9053. That's 1-800-900-9053. 1-800-900-9053.
The Broad Stage in Santa Monica presents the internationally acclaimed Dance Theater of Harlem for 3 performances only. Don't miss the company Broadway World Calls, a multicultural institution for artistic excellence, performing a thrilling and eclectic program of neoclassical and contemporary ballet that is both of the moment and timeless. Performances are April 20th and 21st.
Tickets at thebroadstage.org or call 310-434-3200. That's thebroadstage.org or call 310-434-3200.
The original from university. This is the front page on Radio Free, 102.3 KJLH.
Cause the worst come to worst, my peoples come first. So if you ain't busting down, please disperse. Please disperse. Please disperse. I knew I never should have bought the tease the purse.
Radio Free. That's where we are. That's what we doing around here. Good morning, family. It's me, Dominique DePrima, and our friend is on the phone in the spirit of Wellness Wednesday. He's a medical ethicist, a researcher, a lecturer, president of Strategies for Wellbeing, LLC, a world traveler, an author. You see him all the time. He's the author of Which Doctor and Information is the Best Medicine. Glenn Ellis Sr., good morning.
My dear sister.
Where in the world is Glenn Ellis? Could you be in Africa? Could you be in Asia? Could you be in Cuba?
Well, right now I'm in a small farm called Philadelphia right now.
It's Philadelphia Day on the front page, from the Fresh Prince to Glenn Ellis. What do you know about that?
Yes. And how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm also turning Jamaican like you with many, many jobs, but that is a blessing.
That is a blessing. What a blessing. Thank you for that very kind and generous introduction. But there was one thing you left out that I think is pertinent to our conversation this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama during the 60s.
And that is relevant because that's kind of like a flashpoint, right, at that point of the civil rights movement.
And absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, you were in Memphis for some part of that week last week, right?
I was working around the clock, but it was really, really very inspiring. I know you were down there as we commemorated 50 years since the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yeah. And so, one of the things I wanted to really focus on our conversation is just because during my time of growing up down there, I was able to not only be a witness to some of the most horrific and violent events during the movement. I lost some of my dear childhood friends. They were the 4 little girls in the church bombing. Other friends were brutalized during some of the marches. Just saw so much horrendous stuff. And I was talking with Bernice King, who I've known since we were little kids down there. Her uncle, Reverend A.B. King, lived in Birmingham, and his kids and I were all classmates. So through a natural course of events, I came to know them because of visitors to Birmingham or whatever. So we've known each other for a long time. So she and I were talking, Reverend A.B. King, and she said, Glenn, people think that our tragedy was about Daddy getting killed. But she said, people forget that right after he died, my grandmother was murdered during a church service while playing the piano by a crazed gunman who came in and shot her to death in front of us at the church. And then her uncle, who tried to become a father figure after they lost their father, had a heart attack in the swimming pool while playing in the swimming pool with them. And then a few years ago, her sister Yolanda dropped dead from a heart attack suddenly. And just the repeated trauma. And then she said, but at the same time, people expect us to be Dr. King's kids, and we have to be these, poised and kind of like reserved people who are dignified, not realizing that we're totally traumatized. And it just reminded me of just the degree to which all of the things that we are experiencing. There's been studies done at Harvard, at Emory University, that they looked and found that there are higher rates of post-traumatic stress syndrome in inner city Black people, particularly young people, than there is for veterans returning from the wars in Iraq and in Afghanistan. And we don't acknowledge that. Those kinds of traumatic experiences, when we see a veteran coming from the war, and we say, oh, well, he's got PTSD, and then you start to see the behavior, people don't care, you see the depression, etc. And we totally overlook the degree to which that collectively is taking place rampantly throughout our community. Every day, every week, or whatever, we're hearing about, the Philando Castillos of the world and the Michael Browns and all of these different incidents. And we hear and we see and we witness these things. We have children who are becoming accustomed to knowing personally somebody who was murdered in their neighborhood and then going on trying to be expected to go on with their lives. So, Dominic, this is an enormous issue. It's underreported and it's certainly underaddressed. We have to start to acknowledge that because it starts to affect our desire to want to be hopeful about anything in the future, which forces us to make very immediate decisions without regard for consequences. And it just is a ripple effect that just starts to contribute to the decimation of our community.
And it seems like it's relentless. I mean, you mentioned Philando Castile here in California. We're dealing with Stephon Clark, a case you may not have heard about called A.J. Weber, here right near the radio station. A young man, a teenage father, gunned down, and it's just relentless. Case after case after case. Shahid Vasil, the guy in the bipolar young man in New York. So what do we do about it? I mean, from your perspective, you talk about information being the best medicine and how we have to heal ourselves. What do we do about that?
Well, here's one critical thing we have to do. We have to make sure that this issue rises to the level of policy. We have to make sure that when we approach our policymakers, when it relates to allocation of resources for education funds, when we look at community development. So if it's not on the radar of the politicians who represent us on all levels, from the municipal, the state, and the federal level, then we're not going to see the kind of human and financial resources that are required. It's just going to continue to get worse. And I think that we have to start there. The other thing is we have to at least start to acknowledge the existence of such a phenomenon. We are not even aware of it because, unfortunately, for the majority of us, our whole existence, for the most part, is just centered on survival and coping with the day-to-day pressures of our existence. And so something like that never rises to the top. But just think about some of the examples of trauma that we're talking about. Even Philando Castile's girlfriend was just an example of her sitting in the car with him, witnessing that. That's horrific. And so she has a little girl. So how does she get healed? How does she get the kind of support? How does she even get the kind of attention and recognition of the existence of something like this in her life? And we multiply that by the tens of thousands, if not millions, of Black people who have, particularly Black people and people of color in this country, who have similar kinds of experiences. And the sad thing, Dominique, is that we sit and watch, justifiably, we watch the ravages of the refugees in places like Syria with chemical bombs and the little kids and the trauma and how that is being acknowledged, recognized, and addressed. And we ourselves are sympathetic to that without any regard for how we have to be able to acknowledge the exact same thing in our own lives. So it's really, we focus mostly on justice in these kinds of situations, as opposed to understanding that justice has to encompass some type of acknowledgement and addressing the traumatic experiences associated with that. And trauma is just it's so ingrained in the existence and the history of our presence in this country that we have normalized it. And I think that's a very, very slippery slope that we are on, and it continues to go down because as long as we continue to normalize it, the more it contributes to our inability to effectively cope and thrive within the society and to continue to try to uplift and to bring some type of healing to our community. We have to really stop and realize this is a major, major issue. And it was just only through my conversation that it really kind of re-rose to my radar screen when I was talking with Bernice King in Memphis. And it was just, and it was just also reinforced when I looked at people like when Reverend Jesse Jackson gave his speech on April 4th from the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel. And it, and it just kind of reverberated in me that this guy was 25, 26 years old, standing there watching somebody get shot, like Dr. King, who he had idolized and looked and worked with. And he said he couldn't even call when he called Mrs. King, he couldn't even tell her what he saw. He said all he could tell her was that Mrs. King, Dr. King just got shot in the shoulder. He said, I didn't even know how to form my lips to say what I just witnessed happening to him. So, but in the meantime, this man has gone through his whole life as a community activist, as a leader in our community, carrying that type of massive traumatic experience in his very existence. So I just wanted to use this brief opportunity, Dominique, to really just heighten our awareness to the existence of this type of phenomenon and make sure that we recognize that these are the type of issues. When we talk about health care or we talk about making sure that we've got insurance and those kinds of things, nobody has really pushed the envelope to really try to explore the degree to which, behavioral health and mental health are adequately resourced for us to be able to properly get the kind of wellness and well-being that we deserve in our community.
Yeah, so it sounds like part of what you're saying is part of what we have to do to get through this trauma is to be able to acknowledge it and say this is going on. And then, we talk about all the time how we got shootings in our community, whether it's officer-involved shooting or, violence that's happening as crime. And we don't have the same resources. We don't see the same resources, the counselors and the outpourings of, support that happen in other communities. Part of it, you're saying, though, is also just acknowledging it. And I did, when I heard Bernice King speaking in Memphis, she did talk about, the loss that they've had as a family beyond their father. And it was clear that trauma is still part of what they're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And now I'm just thinking this, and it really is a racial divide in terms of how it's addressed in this country. I think that the kind of attention that goes into, and it's unfortunate when we see these mass shootings in schools like that are happening, that are disproportionately affecting white kids. But the primary targets in our community happen on an individual level, like you mentioned, either whether they're police driven or whether they're individual against individuals within our community. But nevertheless, there isn't any equity in how those things are addressed in terms of what happens with the trauma of it.
And those are individual shootings, but I think the trauma is very much collective, and we talk about having the talk with our kids, when we talk about the level of fear that we deal with just in raising Black boys and just constantly praying that they're going to come home okay. I think those things are a collective trauma.
Absolutely. I think that we have to recognize it and we have to acknowledge it. We have to bring it into all the conversations that are going on about some of the dysfunctions and ills in our communities, with, in addition to the food deserts we talk about and the poor educational systems and the lack of employment and the poor housing and all of these issues. Centrally involved in them is the traumatic experiences that our communities experience historically on a collective basis. And we have to recognize that it is not separate and apart from, and it's not something that's minor. We have to realize it is really centrally involved. It's very hard to even try to measure the degree of depression in our community and the aftermath of someone who has been killed, or whether we knew them or not. When we see some of the continued patterns of just looking at the police driven homicides that are taking place, and just to see someone totally unarmed running away, being shot multiple times in the back, we have to understand that has an effect on all of us, because unlike other people who are not parts of our community, when we see that, we see ourselves, we see our children, we see our sons, we see our fathers. So it has a different kind of impact, and it creates a traumatic experience experience that we have to stop overlooking.
And of course, you're talking about depression. You're not talking about, oh, I'm sad. You're talking about clinical depression, an actual disease.
Absolutely. That affects motivation, desire to want to excel, desire to want to even continue on, don't even care about planning for futures, don't have the inspiration that's necessary to try to encourage the younger people in your life to try to do anything positive. You're clinically depressed.
And I want to point out that, I mean, you can actually get treatment for that. I know we are resistant to that. And I know people think we're making excuses as a community and as individuals, but that's actually something you can get care for.
And it is, you only get care if you realize it's a problem, if you acknowledge that it's a problem, and you acknowledge that it is able to be treated. So this is where policy comes in, because there's a way that we see in our society, by example, with usually looking at breast cancer, things like Susan B. Colvin and those kinds of American Cancer Society. So the educational and awareness campaigns are what drives people to be so compelled to make sure that they engage with some types of preventive measures, mammograms, self-exams, or whatever. But it all emanates from raising the awareness of the magnitude and the existence of the problem. And that's where I think we fall short with this particular thing. There is not enough attention paid to it. Because once that happens, then you start to see resources being allocated. You start to see policies given that will make it.
Right, like what we're seeing with the opioid crisis. We need maybe an American Society of Depression and Anxiety. I think maybe that's what we need. We can have ribbons and race for a cure. I think those are
absolutely
very important points. Glenn Ellis, how can we keep up with your work, your writings? You really are sort of like a one-man army in the fight to educate our communities about mental health, about physical health, about health policy.
I see this as a part of the civil rights movement. This is about human rights, and so I consider myself a civil rights worker.
No doubt.
And so the work I do, and just like those people who came before us, your father, all of these people were individuals just like you're trying to describe me, and I'm not going to in any way put myself up on their level. But the Dr. Kings and Reverend Jacksons and Vernon Johns and Fannie Lou Hamers and Ella Bakers of the world, these people, all of us, yourself, Dominique, we all are just civil rights, human rights workers, and we're committed to doing the work that we do wherever it is. But to your question, I have a website, glennellis.com, and it's Glenn with two N's, glennellis.com. I have all of the national, I write a weekly column in the Black Press. That's all of those columns are on there. I have podcasts from subject interviews I've done with a lot of people on a lot of issues that relate to the kinds of things we're talking about. Next week I'll have one up. I'm doing one on with a research and a professor from the University of Texas that just completed a book looking at steroid abuse in police officers.
Man, I've been talking about that for years, and people think I'm crazy, but I got it from a little bird. I got it from a little bird on the inside.
No, listen, Dominique, this is phenomenal. I'll text you or email you the information.
Okay, fantastic.
Check this out. I think you'll find it absolutely fascinating to realize what we're talking about. So anyway, that's where at glennellis.com you can find those kind of podcasts. You can find some of the articles and columns I've written about a lot of the stuff that we're touching on here today. And Dominic, I continue to commend you for your commitment, for real. And you are a diligent soldier, and we would be remiss not to acknowledge how much of a treasure you are and have continued to be the voice for many of us in this community.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. You know what? We're going to have to bug you more. I feel like we don't talk to you enough on this show. So sorry for ringing your phone early in the morning, but that's what we do.
Listen, and listen, I answer. That's what I do. So.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to be talking. We'll be talking to you soon. It's the front page. You know that. Attorney Carrie Harper's up next. She is the attorney for Reginald Thomas, a.k.a. Daddy Daycare, who our dear friend Jackie Lacey, the district attorney who charges no one, has just decided not to bring charges about. Find out about that and, well, whatever else is going on. It's overwhelming, the number of cases that just continue to be of interest and concern to our community when it comes to civil rights and law enforcement. That's up next. Radio Free 102.3 KJLH.
Walk like you're chosen. Select heads meet here. The front page on Radio Free 102.3 KJLH.
Hey, it's Tammy Mack gearing up for the KJLH Women's Health Expo. I'll be cooking it up on the Healthy Dishes stage, but I need a sous chef. Let me think. Who? I got this, Tammy Mack. Wendy Raquel Robinson. Now we know you can burn on the screen, but can you burn in the kitchen? I got this. Everything I touch sizzles. From Tasha Mack to my Amazing Grace Conservatory to my baby back. That ain't healthy, Wendy Raquel Robinson. You're right, Tammy Mack. But the KJLH Women's Health Expo is. I got this. Saturday, April 28th at the Long Beach Convention Center. Join me, Tammy Mack, and me, Wendy Raquel Robinson, for the Healthy Dishes stage, and register now online at kjlhradio.com. Healthy, we got this. Love it, ladies. It's Ade Lamar here, getting you ready for my live broadcast, 8 a.m. Breakout sessions, massages, health screenings, exercise zones, trip giveaways, cash cards, free products, and more. Get there early and get your bag, booklet, and raffle ticket. Register today at kjlhradio.com. The KJLH Women's Health Expo. We got this.
Real talk from Gardena Nissan.
Now, if you're looking for a place where they take care of you, okay, where they've been doing good business, not just business, but they've been doing good business to the community, then I want you to call me on my cell phone, 310-846-8629. Now, my name is Jason, but my friends call me Kanto. So if you went to another dealership and you got mistreated, I want you to call Kanto pronto. If you don't like the way they looked at you when you went to the dealership and they didn't give you good customer service, I want you to call Kanto pronto. And you need to get a brand new car and nobody else is giving you the time of day, I want you to see Kanto pronto. Because at Gardena Nissan, we are going to take care of you pronto. Call me at 310-846-8629. Once again, that's 310-846-8629. That's my personal cell phone, 310-846-8629. Call me.
Gardena Nissan, 1670 West Redondo Beach Boulevard, Gardena. Online at GardenaNissan.com.
And that's real talk from Gardena Nissan.
Warning. If you're drowning in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $5,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Associates now, 1-800-700-2844. We'll even show you how much money you could save. If you can't afford to pay off all your debt, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to. Call Credit Associates now for free information on how to get debt-free faster than you ever thought possible without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We depend on your success and offer a guarantee, so there's no risk. For free information, call now, 1-800-700-2844. That's 1-800-700-2844. 1-800-700-2844.
Front page. Empowering the community since 1990. It's Total Talk Expression. Use it or lose it. We're radio free. 102.3 KJLH.
Lord, how do I deal? I'm losing my power, chasing almighty dollar, not just for the greed, strictly for the need. Twisted, bank looking for me, bank man looking for me, but I'm ignoring them. Lord, how I.
Carrie Harper is in the house. That means she woke up early and came to hang out with us. She is, of course, from the law offices of Carrie Harper. She's been defending people accused of criminal violations and victims, survivors of excessive force since 2002. And, of course, you know her for her work with Marlene Pinnock Reginald Thomas, Kendrick McDade, and others. Good morning, Carrie Harper.
Good morning, Dominique.
Thanks for coming in. Get tired of talking to people on the phone all the time.
No, it's hard to get in here at 0:30.
I know. Well, we were disappointed, not surprised, but disappointed that District Attorney Jackie Lacey decided not to charge the officers in the Reginald Thomas case.
At least one. I think all of them should have been charged, of course, because I'm his advocate. But Officer Villacana, whose compelled statement came out in my expert's report because the defendants published it, it just really goes into the depth that he personally did to Mr. Thomas, including, but not limited to, punching him with a hammer fist so many times that Villacana broke his hand on Mr. Thomas's face.
So the officer broke his hand,
broke his hand
Daddy
on the
Daycare.
man's face.
The man we call Daddy Daycare.
Now, mind you, at least 5 other officers had hands on Mr. Thomas at the time at each limb of his body. And Villacana describes how he had to go over the top of one of them just to get to the man. And the only free space was at the head area.
Wow. So he was raging. I mean, he was just totally out of control.
He was raging, and he kicked him multiple times. He used a baton, saying again that the only spot he could get in was the upper body. And, you're not supposed to use the baton on the upper body, like the head and those type of areas where you could do grave damage. And he says he kicked him because Mr. Thomas looked like he might want to bite him. I don't know how you look like you might want to bite. Maybe he was trying to breathe because the other 5 officers were beating and kicking him and using the baton. And he'd been tased over 5 times over the limit that the national guidelines say you should be tased, or that's safe to tase someone at without having a sudden death situation.
So, when we read about a settlement in a case like this, it's really, for you as an attorney, it's not the best case scenario. You would love for all the facts to come out in court, right? You would love for the police department to have to defend itself, right?
Well, sometimes the cases settle, and it's better for the plaintiff that the case settles quicker rather than later. You mentioned Ms. Pennick's case. Actually, in that event, settling that case quicker worked out better in her scenario than longer, because what they would have done is to drag it out, and sometimes people disappear again, and it would have been hard to relocate them
because she had mental health issues and was homeless or in and out of reliable housing.
And unfortunately, thanks to Judge Otis Wright of the 9th Central District Court, who really upended the mechanisms we had in place for her, and we were trying to protect her, she's back homeless again. That's my opinion. So she's back on the street again. She, has $1 million, but she's homeless again.
Well, and this is the thing that, that I've observed, and, so let's attribute these comments to me and not Attorney Harper, is that we do have a bit of a disparity in terms of, as being a female attorney, the way that you are given the benefit of the doubt or not when you try to take actions like that to ensure that someone is taken care of and safe. And, when you step in on behalf of your clients or charge in on behalf of your clients, I feel like, this is just me talking, but I feel like as women, we face a different standard. What would be considered, a champion for your clients? If you were a man, as a woman, you're like, oh, she's emotional or something.
Well, yeah, you hear that sometimes. Sometimes, I'm sure you've probably heard, if a woman gets passionate about a situation, then the term emotional is used.
Yeah.
Whereas the guy is I don't know if I could say that term, but he's a go-getter. I was going to say something buster.
Yeah.
I can't say that, right?
No, you can't.
Okay, sorry.
Probably not. But yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I experienced that in broadcasting. I experienced it in television as a producer. I'm a B. And they are,
right.
And
it's
they're
just attaboy.
impressive.
If it's a guy, he's attaboy, go get him. But
he's a take charge kind of guy.
Right.
Exactly.
Some stereotypes you have to overcome, and you're working with that. And then, there are a lot of things that come into play when you deal with a settlement. Yes, I would have liked to have tried this case because there are so many egregious violations that didn't come out with the Reginald Thomas matter, but you can't override the will of the people who are in charge, which are ultimately the client and their
right,
family.
whoever has suffered the loss. And in the case of Reginald Thomas, he's got how many children?
Okay, so yes, he does have he has 8 children.
So those children need to be taken care of. So in that case, you've got
there's no guarantee, right?
Right. When you take it to court, you don't know what would happen. So
Right.
this way, at least his children are provided for to an extent, and that's a good thing.
Sure.
However, back to Jackie Lacey. You know, I know sometimes I sound like I'm harping on.
Why don't you invite her in for an interview? That way you can get her.
You think we haven't? She's got a standing invitation. In fact, we have a red carpet
There's a chair in
stretching from
between
the
us right
district
now.
attorney's office all the way to KJLH.
There's a chair vacant between us right now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it says, see the little sign I have up here? It says Jackie Lacey. Yeah, no, we'd love to talk to her. Last time she was in was when she was asking for our votes. We'd love to have her back because it seems like I don't know what officer involved shooting she would find worthy of charges. And we're not saying automatic conviction. We're just saying charges so that it can be decided by a jury or, a judge as to whether or not this meets the criteria that's necessary for somebody to get convicted.
I think it's so frustrating, too, if you practice criminal defense and you see some of the weak charges that your clients face and they have to secure attorney representation. Their jobs are at stake and they're embarrassed. All of these things based on an allegation. And a good amount of these folks, we can get off of the charges or have them found not guilty or get the case dismissed due to some other illegal activity on the law enforcement agency. They don't ever have to do that, these officers. They don't ever have, I'm not going to say ever.
Rarely do they
answer. It's a rare
occasion. Well, what kind of ridiculous cases are you talking about? Are you saying weak charges like what?
Well, right now, I think yesterday, my office appeared on a case where a man is charged with a felony. After the 911 call came in and said that and described my client being yanked out of the car and then being kicked and beat up by another person that was involved in an accident. They gave the clothing description of my client and the other guy. And my client is the one who gets arrested for an assault with a deadly weapon because he defended himself. There wasn't a pause, and this wasn't a citizen's arrest. The officers can't refuse a citizen's arrest. This was an officer arrest. So instead of evaluating the 911 tape, or instead of doing a little bit more,
see what the heck happened.
And you can always get the information and let the DA file it at a later date. If you know where he's living, you don't have to upend his life right then. You can delay the charges and have them charged later. That's just the most recent one.
So what you're saying is the standard of, charging a citizen is super flimsy, and the standard of charging an officer is almost
very, very
insurmountable.
high.
Yeah.
And yes, to a certain degree, you see law enforcement, they get the benefit of the doubt. They've gone through background checks.
Yeah.
They've done a lot to show that they're not a career criminal going in, and they have to pass certain things. But if you see an officer who is repeatedly the victim in 148 or in a obstruction of justice.
Is that what 148 is?
Yes.
Okay.
Or delaying an officer. It's almost like that code is used as a contempt of cop. If you see a 148 charge and there's nothing else, that means you've angered the officer and they're just basically taking you in for contempt of cop. Which, if you have these officers being the repeated victim in certain type of allegations, then maybe you shouldn't automatically arrest the person. There should be some safeguards, and that might mean overhauling the whole system. I don't know about all that. I'm probably opening Pandora's box.
Well, that's what we do around here, opening Pandora's boxes. One of them is definitely, as far as opening Pandora's boxes, one of them is that the district attorney is charging cops at all. And, we've talked about that on this show with you. I talk about it all the time. President Obama's Blue Ribbon Commission recommended a totally independent office that would handle officer-involved shootings for every jurisdiction. To me, that makes sense.
I struggle to see what the reasoning is, especially when you have videotape of the allegations. I know that people want to say, hey, but the videotape doesn't show the whole picture. But if that part of the picture that's being shown is so egregious, then you have to you have to really really question things.
Yep, no doubt. I mean, it might not show the whole picture, but it shows enough to tell you that something really went wrong. We talk about Reginald Thomas, and we've talked about this off the air, not just you, but with Attorney Benjamin Crump, with Attorney Brian Dunn, with Attorney Nana Jumpi, my favorite civil rights attorneys, is that part of what has to happen is we've got to put the officers on blast a little bit. Their names have to be out there. If they're not going to be charged, at least take the responsibility from a reputation standpoint.
Right. And if you'd like me to do that, I'm more than happy to put their names on blast right now.
Yeah.
The most culpable character there, in my opinion, and my expert's opinion, Roger Clark, who is a retired LA Sheriff's Department lieutenant, is Officer Aaron Villacana. He's a 5'8", about 180-pound Hispanic male, and he works.
We're talking Pasadena Police
PD.
Department. Yeah.
He was the training officer of Officer Roger Lee Griffith with a TH on the end. This is Griffith's first little battle, and this is how his training officer showed him what to do. So he was a trainee there that day. Then there's Thomas Butler, there's Philip Poirier, and there's Rafael Santiago, and Michael Orozco of Pasadena PD, all involved in killing of Reginald Thomas.
What happened with the police chief there?
Right. His last day effective is actually the day he was subpoenaed to testify in our trial, April 18th. And now he abruptly, I don't know what happened. I can speculate.
He just decided to resign.
If you want. I asked him in our deposition with Chief Sanchez, I asked him about the most recent beating in Pasadena, which is the videotape beating of Christopher Ballou, where they broke his leg, and that's been shown. I began to ask him about that. His lawyer stood up and over his client, and both of them walked out within 2 or 3 questions. I literally played the video and started asking them, is this within procedure and this and that? They all got angry and they left the conference room.
You can do that?
Well, they have legs. They walked. I mean, what am I going to do? I can't have the chief really arrested for leaving the deposition. He was going to have to answer it.
And so he's actually just stepped down recently, and he will be leaving the building next week.
April 18th, my understanding.
That would be next week. And why is he saying he's leaving?
Well, I think that he just said he was moving on.
Peace out. Okay.
He's been at the helm of a lot of things. Sure.
Okay, we've got Jasmine Richards Abdullah. Yeah, I know, because I remember him from the Kendrick McDade case. And what year was that?
And that was March 24th, 2012, when Kendrick got killed.
And still no justice.
Yeah, and the chief had 5 shootings. I don't think that ever came out. He himself pulled the trigger 5 times while he was an officer.
Wow.
Yes.
Did not know that.
Hit most of the people. So he was over that investigation. And then in the Reginald Thomas case, he said that, he didn't know anything about it. That's what he testified to in the deposition, that he didn't monitor the case. He didn't know anything about it. He was hands off.
Jasmine Richards Abdullah, are you there?
Oh, yes. Good morning. Sorry. How you guys doing?
Blessed. What's on your mind? You are BLM Pasadena, right?
Yes, Black Lives Matter Pasadena. And I just wanted to talk about Reginald J.R. Thomas and Kendrick McDade.
Yes, ma'am.
With the case of Reginald J.R. Thomas, those were the officers that were there, but you missed 2. And one was Corporal Gomez and Pham Phong, which are Pham Phong is a lieutenant as well. And I think the reason Jackie Lacey is not prosecuting these cops is because she's receiving money from police unions. Between the years of 2012 and 2015, she received over $10,000 worth of gifts. Some of those gifts were including pearl necklaces and 24-karat gold roses. So that's a conflict of interest. Jackie Lacey has taken the side of the police unions, and she has said, turned her back against the people. There's nothing we can do about it because she's already taken their money. J.R. Thomas, I work with the family, and Shaney is my friend, and the family is still suffering. Kendrick McDade, one of the officers that was there at J.R. Thomas's murder, was also one of the officers that killed Kendrick McDade, and that was Officer Jeffrey Newland. You missed his name as well. And
all right, actually, I didn't miss his name. Jeffrey Newland performed CPR, and actually, I believe because he was grilled so much in the Kendrick McDade case when I deposed him for not doing CPR on Mr. McDade, that him and Griffin actually came in and did CPR. That's an alleged story.
So Jasmine, what is Black Lives Matter Pasadena asking folks to do at this point?
Well, right now we're asking for folks to rally. We're going to start going after Jackie Lacey. We're asking people to do direct action because it's enough for her being complacent. So what we're doing is we're about to start grilling her. We're going to be all up in her face, and until she starts doing something, we're going to shut her down.
That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that, Jasmine, and it's great to hear from you. You know, I think that what we know is that Jackie Lacey, no matter how much we grill her at this point, has been reelected, ran unopposed. I feel like all of us in the community dropped the ball by not having someone run against her. And I know you know, Carrie Harper, you brought it up, but we did. I mean, there was no, so she's going to probably serve out her term. People are talking about a recall. That's highly unlikely, right, Attorney Harper?
I don't think a recall would go through, especially when she didn't have anyone running against her.
Yeah, and it's expensive. Yeah.
And,
see, my thing is, I'm pretty sure that that District Attorney Jackie Lacey will try to run for State Attorney General, or you know, that she's moving up the ladder. Why wouldn't she? And so to me, that's where we come in, and that's where this is where until she sees the ghost of Kendrick past, that she doesn't get to move up the ladder. That's my solution. It's not much of a solution. What else can we do?
I don't know. I think just stay the course and have supportive groups. Black Lives Matter do what they say that they're going to do, and other groups try and assist with that. And if it's a collective effort and the community wants change. Also, when you have these folks running for office, ask what their positions are on certain things. They may not be able to look into a crystal ball as to things that may arise in the future, but they can always say things that they know have occurred in the past, like
Kendrick McDade, for example, or that happened when she was already district attorney, right? But what you're saying is ask some questions that would reveal what we're dealing with right now.
I think we have a right to know in this climate. Things have changed even since Kendrick McDade was shot and killed by Matthew Griffin and Jeffrey Newland. Things have changed, and maybe we can get these candidates to actually state their positions.
How important is it for us to sit on juries?
Very important, Dominique. Stop trying to get off these juries, please.
Oh, right. No, that's what I told Attorney Crump that
this is awful. I can't believe you're actually saying that out loud.
Sitting on jury duty like every 6 months, but I'm not mad at that.
Please try to.
And that's the same thing Crump says. He's like, come on.
I'm having an outer body experience. I can't believe you actively try and get off the jury.
I didn't say that.
Yes, I think you, but I could tell that you do.
What are you, psychic now? I think a lot of us do because they don't pay you any money. We have jobs. We got kids.
It's the only time that you actually have somewhat of a level playing field. Anyone who's ever facing any criminal allegations, and you look out into a quote-unquote jury of your peers and you see no one that resembles even remotely what you look like, that is just awful.
That's
awful. I can't believe that. I know you do this.
I have done it in the past. I have done it in the past because, who's going to take my kid to school? Who's going to
I can't believe you're
host
saying
my
that.
radio
So that's
show?
within the last 10 years.
Yeah, no, 13. No, I know. I've had this conversation with Attorney Crump because I don't get out of it anymore. But the thing about it is, I feel like we need to fix that too, because for most people, they can't afford to sit on a jury.
Okay, but you could afford, now if you're in the audience and your child is being wrongfully charged with a crime, a felony, and could be a strike, you're looking at the jury and you're listening to some of the reasons that they're giving. You're frustrated because your child is now, and he's a young black male, you know, he could be wrongfully accused of something very easily. You want a jury there with an open mind, and they don't all have to, you know, it doesn't have to be folks of color, but people with an open mind. We need somebody there. Those folks who can't afford to be there are actually the ones we need there the most. Do you really want people who are so rich that they don't need the money and they can afford to be there?
Well, that's why we need to change the system. I really think people need to get paid to be on those juries. Not just me, because I actually, you know, it's not as huge of a sacrifice for me.
Have you served on a jury?
Yes, I have served on a jury. Carrie Harper. Jeez Louise.
I mean, I tried to serve.
I feel like I'm on the stand.
I tried to serve. They kicked,
Well, and that's the thing. Now that I'm on front page, I don't, we'll see.
Should get out of jail free card. Okay.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that you're right, absolutely right. But that's why I bring it up, because everyone tries to get off of jury duty.
They really shouldn't. It's really the most important civic thing that you can do. And next to voting and jury duty.
Let's go to Kimberly from Hawthorne. Hi, Kimberly.
Talk about that anymore.
No.
Good morning.
Actually. Good morning.
I just wanted to say that I'm really passionate about this being on jury duty. And I know it's an
Thank you.
but because of some of the trials that I've sat on, I was on a trial where a young man was being charged for trespassing when he was going over a friend's house that he's known for years. And I mean, they had all these trumped up charges. And some of the people on the jury, they couldn't identify with, you know, that being his buddy or whatever, but that was somebody's child, you know, and if it's not your child, that's not duty, because they're really railroading some of our kids. The law is really, it's I don't know how to really describe it unless you're there and the way they explain it to you, but reality, if you guys are not on the jury to help some of our kids there, they're going to get railroaded. And I'm really passionate about that.
Thank you so much. I am too.
Well said, Kimberly. Well said. What else can people do to support, you know, I mean, you know, for you, this has got to be pretty painful. You're going from, you know, Kendrick McDade, Marlene Pinnock. Of course, you got settlements for, you know, for Marlene Pinnock and for Reginald Thomas Daddy Daycare. But I know you'd like to see, and for Kendrick, but I know you'd like to see justice in the form of some charges, or at least accountability on officers who end up actually back on the streets, who end up, even if they are fired, going from one police force to another. What can people do?
I don't know. You know what I just thought of, literally, as we were sitting here, maybe if there's some way, and maybe Miss Lacey is doing this, maybe she can get a panel herself of local civil rights attorneys, maybe an officer or two that's in charge, a liaison, and maybe have a little bit of a private town hall meeting if she doesn't want to do it in public, just so that people can kind of understand where she's coming from. We see the money angle, and she needs the support of law enforcement to get reelected, but she's already been reelected. Maybe there could be some type of meeting, and maybe she's taking these meetings, but maybe make them known. I don't know. You're talking about it on the front page, so maybe we don't know about it if it's going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know the legalities of that. To me, it seems like having it totally divorced from the district attorney's office would be better.
I agree.
Because she's going to get blamed, or she'll think she's getting blamed. But how do we do that? That would take a federal kind of. Well, actually,
she could do. She's in charge. She can make. She can.
Yeah, no, I'm saying to get it moved out of her hands is what I'm saying. What would that take? Probably at least a state law.
Yeah, you could get something federally done or statewide.
Yeah.
If enough people
Javier
complain.
Becerra perhaps is the place to start, the state attorney general.
Maybe write these folks. They actually listen to some of the calls and letters that come in. So maybe writing our elected officials. I know it takes out time out of the day, just like jury duty, but, you know.
Time out of your life. But it's necessary and really, really important. I mean, I think this is a flashpoint. I was glad to see Mayor Chokwe Antara Lumumba in Jackson, Mississippi, changing the laws, working to change the law so you have to release the names of police officers, and so that they can no longer use mug shots of people who are shot.
I know that's valuable. Just like remember back when they darkened O.J. Simpson's picture on the cover of that magazine. The mug shots are not flattering. People are being taken to jail and aren't happy. So a better picture is needed.
Headshot, please. Jackie from Los Angeles, you're on. Short version, if you would.
Yes, hi, good morning, Dominique. I just got on the radio on my way to work, but I wanted to say really quickly that I never try to get out of jury duty. I always try to encourage my coworkers and my family, if you get a summons, go in, because one day your loved one may be sitting, in the defendant's seat, and you would want someone like you on that jury.
Yeah, well said. Thank you, Jackie. Attorney Carrie Harper, thank you for coming in.
I agree. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah. And you know what? I probably don't have time to do these headlines anyway. I can do them really short. Just really quick. How do we make sure we don't get kicked off when we go in? Like, are there certain things they're looking for?
I don't know if I want to tell you that, because I don't want you to do the reverse to try and get kicked off.
Oh, no. Don't.
I'm not going to say it out loud of what you can do and not do.
No,
and get
seriously, because I think a lot of people think, okay, well,
if you try too hard to get on, that's going to be pretty evident too. Just go there and be as honest as
act natural.
Be as honest as you can. If you have something that concerns you that's private, then you can always ask the judge to go up to sidebar and say it privately or in the hall. But just be as honest as possible, and not follow the lead of the prior jurors who got kicked off. I think that's kind of sometimes what people do, and that's not good.
No, yeah, no, I think people worry about, just getting pegged for being a Democrat, being a Republican, for, having certain views.
Well, can you even tell anymore? I mean, sometimes you've been talking about the county, the office here, Democrat. Miss Lacey is a Democrat, right? And so you're saying that maybe it's not so definitive anymore with the.
All right. Well, Attorney Carrie Harper, thank you so much. We follow you on Twitter, and we will encourage everyone to do so. CareeHarper.
Thank you.
Family, a portion of today's show is brought to you by Disney California Adventure. Celebrate the bounty of California at Disney's California Adventure with irresistible cuisine, beverages, entertainment, and more during the 2018 Food and Wine Festival. Learn cooking techniques and discover new recipes during family-friendly seminars. Family, it's time to go. I'm sorry we didn't have time to talk about the Oklahoma Teachers Union strike or the FBI raids on Donald Trump's attorney, or a suspect who died at the Baldwin Hills, a person who was killed by officers at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza on yesterday. We will talk about that stuff on tomorrow. As you go on your way about your day, let's take a moment to affirm ourselves. Let's take that deep breath in and let us release. Today, let me remember, in the words of my father, Amiri Baraka, a man is either free or he is not free.
Compton, Los Angeles. KJLHradio.com and the KJLH app.